Now let's talk about Mendeleev's periodic table. Now, Mendeleev was one of the great scientists due to whom we have our modern periodic table. Now, Mendeleev was a person who studied at St. Petersburg University in Russia, and this was the same university from where his father had graduated. Upon a lot of requests by his mother, he had received his admission into that university. Now, owing a debt to his mother, he decided to dedicate his life and work with no distractions. And due to this, he would work in the laboratories for prolonged hours. And then he worked on elements, which were that time 60 elements, and would know the property of each and every element which has come handy to him in his future. Now, Mendeleev, when he tried to work out a periodic table, first thing that he suggested was arranging them according to their atomic weight, which is also suggested by the other scientists. But then, looking at it carefully, he realized that there were many elements which just did not come together. These elements had similar properties and should have been in a similar group. Like the alkaline earth metals, they were scattered around and they had to come together and they had common reactivities. So he said that other than the atomic weight, there has to be something which is more valuable or which has a more impact onto this. So he suggested that they should start putting them in order of their reactivity. And hence they came up with an idea wherein they started with the hydrogen and started putting these elements in periods. And back then there were a repetition after the 7th element, which we today know is after the 8th. Now this was due to the fact that the noble gases or the noble elements weren't discovered, as all they were looking after was the reactivity. Now, the issue faced by Mendeleev was the irregular periodicity of the periodic table. Now, his fellow scientists would usually tell him that, it's just like life. Some things fall in order and then they just start coming abruptly. But Mendeleev was so determined to get the right answer, he would make flashcards with the name of these elements on them and arrange them and rearrange them and try different combinations. And that's when he understood that there was something which was missing. And that missing thing were the elements which were yet to be discovered. And hence he decided to leave some spaces in the periodic table and predicted exactly what the properties of these elements would be. Now, a French scientist who proclaimed that he had discovered one of the elements, Mendeleev went on to challenge him and said it was Mendeleev himself who had actually discovered this element in his mind. But upon cross-checking the data which was generated by the French scientist, Mendeleev understood that there was a major mismatch between the data generated by himself and the data generated by the French scientist. And he went on to publish a paper which stated that the element which was discovered by the French scientist was wrong and did not deserve to be on the periodic table or could not fit into the periodic table. Now, we can wonder, how is it that someone does not know about something and still states and publishes a paper saying that this thing is wrong? But it was his previous experience from handling all the elements that he could precisely say what properties were needed for which of the element.